It started with little things. A new perfume she never used before. Longer showers. Business trips that didn't add up. Michelle would come home late, smile thinly, and brush past me like I was a coworker she barely liked. My name is Ray. I'm 42, an architect based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been married to Michelle for 10 years. We used to be solid, Netflix binges and homemade pasta on Sundays, silly dancing in the kitchen, dumb jokes only we understood. But for the last 6 months, she'd been different. Distant. Focused on her phone like it held her actual life. One night I asked her straight out, "Is there someone else?" She blinked slowly, then rolled her eyes. "God, Ray. You're so paranoid. Maybe if you weren't glued to blueprints until midnight, you'd notice I'm just tired." I nodded like I bought it. But I didn't. She kept changing. Suddenly, she was obsessed with yoga retreats and self-care weekends. New dresses I never saw her wear at home. And our bedroom? Cold. Mechanical. She touched me like checking a box. I needed answers. And not the kind Michelle would give under fluorescent kitchen lights. So I hired a guy. Warren Cole. Private investigator with a shaved head, a thick folder of testimonials, and a price tag that said he knew what he was doing. "I'll dig, but just be ready," he told me. "You don't always get what you want. Just what's real." What I got wasn't what I expected. Michelle wasn't cheating. Not technically. But emotionally? She'd already left me weeks ago. Warren showed me the texts first. Long threads between Michelle and Ethan. Ethan, the guy she always called her business development partner. I remembered him now. Clean-shaven, turtleneck type. Always laughing a little too loud around her. "He's harmless," Michelle had said once. They called each other travel spouses. Had their own inside jokes. Pictures of food, hotel views, late-night selfies, him shirtless, her in a robe. Borderline stuff. Stuff you only send if you're already halfway down a road you shouldn't be on. "She hasn't slept with him," Warren said. "Yet. But give it a week. Maybe less." I nodded, numb. "So she's in love with him." Warren shrugged. "She's addicted to what he gives her. Attention. Escape. Excitement. Doesn't mean love." That night, I sat in my parked car, folder in my lap, the engine running. My hands shook a little. Not from rage. From clarity. Michelle wasn't lying in bed next to me anymore. She was already with him, emotionally naked, even if her clothes stayed on. She wasn't bored. She was preparing to jump, convinced I was too tired or too timid to notice. But I wasn't. I saw her. And now, I had a choice. I could wait for her to destroy everything, then react. Or I could act first. Decide what kind of man I was going to be when it all came down. Warren called me on a Wednesday. I was on site, reviewing contractor reports, pretending like concrete and copper mattered more than the war happening in my marriage. "You're going to want to hear this," he said, voice tight. "They've started planning." "Planning what?" I asked, but I already knew. A night together. The real kind. I left work early and met Warren in the parking lot of a dull little diner. He slid an envelope across the hood of my car like we were in a bad spy movie. Inside were screenshots, email printouts, text logs. Enough digital breadcrumbs to see the whole rotten path. Michelle and Ethan weren't being subtle anymore. According to the emails, Ethan's wife would be out of town for a spa weekend she'd booked herself. Ethan pitched the idea first. One night, just them, no strings, no lies. Michelle hesitated at first. You could see it in the messages. Her tone was cautious, full of excuses and caveats. She wrote, "It just feels wrong, like I'm cheating before it even happens." Then Ethan reeled her in. He told her I wouldn't mind. Said that some men find the idea hot. Claimed that if she just told me the truth up front, I'd respect her for it. That I might even feel closer to her afterward. I read the lines over and over. Ray's so mild. He doesn't fight things, he rationalizes them. If you ask, he might just say yes. And then the worst one. "It'll be good for your marriage. People pay therapists to do this kind of thing." Michelle actually laughed in her reply. "You make it sound noble. Like charity sex." They called it the wellness experiment. A one-time escape. Something to shake the cobwebs off her boring marriage and spark a new flame. I could almost hear her saying it. That soft, gentle voice she used when she was trying to sell me on something expensive and unnecessary. In one email, she even rehearsed what she'd say to me. "Ray, I need to ask something from a place of honesty and love. I've been feeling disconnected, and I think this experience will help me come back to you fully present." She genuinely thought she could pitch her infidelity like a group meditation. "She's not afraid of you," Warren said, tapping the folder. "She thinks you'll fold." Thinks your silence is approval. I nodded slowly, sick rising in my throat. Because he was right. Michelle didn't just think I'd let it slide. She thought I'd bless it. Like a priest watching his wife walk into a motel with another man and choosing to say amen. She said she's telling you Monday night, Warren added. They timed it to the minute. I didn't speak. Just stared at her words. Ethan's lies, their shared fantasy. Michelle truly believed this was a gift. That betrayal, repackaged as honesty, could save us. But she forgot something. I might be quiet. I might be tired. But I'm not blind. And I never agreed to be the fool in someone else's fairy tale. The folder sat on my nightstand all weekend. I didn't open it again. I didn't need to. By Sunday morning, I knew everything I needed to know. Michelle moved through the house like nothing was coming. She folded laundry, asked me about work, reminded me to grab milk. I watched her carefully. How calm she was, how sure. She thought I was still asleep at the wheel, drifting through this marriage without feeling a damn thing. But I felt everything. I always had. That afternoon, I sat in the garage with an old mug of burnt coffee, trying to remember the last time we had been truly happy. Not performative, not polite, but laughing, sweaty, real. It had to be 6 or 7 years back. We used to take road trips with no itinerary. Just gas up the car and head out. Eat at truck stops, blast old music, fall asleep in motels with scratchy sheets. I thought of the time we painted the guest room that terrible lemon color and had to repaint it the next day because we both admitted it looked like a highlighter threw up. We laughed so hard we couldn't finish the second coat. And Friday nights, those were pizza and documentaries. Crusty delivery boxes on the coffee table, her feet tucked under mine, both of us arguing over narrator voiceovers like they were sports commentary. I used to reach for her in the middle of the night and feel her already reaching back. But somewhere along the line, she stopped meeting me halfway. She blamed work, then stress, then hormones. She'd close off in tiny, quiet ways. No more Sunday walks, no more random texts during the day, no more letting me see her cry. At first, I gave her space. I thought I was being a good husband. Respectful. But space became distance. Distance became silence. And silence became normal. I always thought we'd come back from it. That one day, we'd roll over in bed and laugh at how weird things had gotten. I didn't realize she'd already left. She just hadn't packed yet. And now she was planning to cheat. Not just cheat, but ask for my permission. Like it was a spa treatment. She thought I'd blink slowly, nod, maybe say something passive like if it helps you find clarity, I support it. That's the version of me she kept in her head. She never considered I might say no. Or worse, nothing. I could feel the resolve building inside me like a steel beam setting into place. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to slap a wine glass off the table and scream. How could you? No. I'd let her play her little intervention scene. Rehearsed, polished, with all the right buzzwords. But before she could open her mouth, I'd speak first. I'd tell her I was leaving. Not because she slept with another man, but because she tried to twist betrayal into therapy. Because she thought I was too spineless to call it what it was. She wanted control of the narrative. But she forgot. I know how to design a structure. And tomorrow night, I was going to take hers apart, brick by careful brick, until there was nothing left standing but the truth. Michelle picked Monday night. She came home just after 6, hair curled like she'd had it done, not a single wrinkle in her blouse. Her heels clicked across the floor like punctuation marks. She looked like she was going to a fundraiser, not prepping to blow up her marriage. Hey, she said, her tone light. Can we talk after dinner? I have something I want to say. I smiled. Actually, I was hoping to talk first. That threw her for a beat. She blinked, but recovered fast. Oh, sure, okay. She walked into the kitchen like everything was normal and started pulling wine glasses from the cabinet. I'd already uncorked a bottle. She liked that. I could tell. She thought I was easing into the trap she'd set. We ate chicken and green beans while she talked about Ethan's latest client win, pretending she didn't know I knew. I nodded, asked the right questions, refilled her glass. After we finished, she wiped her mouth with a napkin and looked across the table, lips parting. I beat her to it. I've been thinking a lot, I said, voice calm. And I've made a decision. Michelle tilted her head, folding her napkin neatly into her lap. Okay, I want a divorce. Her breath hitched. Just slightly, like a skipped heartbeat. She didn't speak right away. What? She finally said. I leaned back in my chair, steepling my fingers. I don't think we're in love anymore. At least, I'm not. And I think it's time we stop pretending we are. She stared at me, stunned. Not angry, confused. Like a magician's trick had turned around on her. But why now? She asked, blinking rapidly. Where is this coming from? I shrugged, measured and cool. It's been building. Distance, silence. We're not who we used to be, Michelle. And I don't want to live halfway anymore. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. Ray, I was going to talk to you about something too. I smiled. Yeah? What about? She hesitated. I could see the mental rehearsal unraveling in her eyes. Just feelings. Us. I thought we should try something different. Something honest. I nodded. I agree. Honesty's important. She sat there, completely off balance, like a gymnast who missed the beam but was trying to keep smiling for the judges. You're really serious? She asked. I am. She tried to read me. I gave her nothing. No anger, no tears. Just certainty. Michelle had expected resistance. A meltdown. A desperate man begging to understand. She never expected me to be the first one out the door. And now, for the first time in years, I was. Michelle didn't say much the rest of that night. She sat on the edge of the couch, wine glass untouched, staring through the television like she could see something in it that might save her. I didn't offer her comfort. I didn't rush to soften the blow. Instead, I went to the hall closet and pulled down an old shoebox. She knew it the second she saw it. Our memory box. Photos, ticket stubs, postcards from places we'd gone when we were still us. I dropped it on the coffee table between us and sat down. She looked at it for a long time before speaking. You kept that? I nodded. You used to. I just made sure it didn't get thrown out. She opened it slowly, like it might bite her. The first thing she pulled out was a Polaroid, her in overalls, standing on a ladder, paint roller in hand. The sunroom, she whispered. We painted it that awful green. Lime mist, I said. You swore it would grow on us. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It didn't. She pulled out more, movie ticket stubs, a note I wrote on a napkin from our first road trip. If we die in this motel, know that I love you. We both laughed when we read it then. Now she just stared. I remember these things, she said softly. I do. I leaned forward. Then why'd you stop living them? She looked up at me, startled. I didn't pull away, I said. Not first. I adjusted. I followed your lead. Less touch. Less talking. Less trying. That's not fair. You stopped coming on our Sunday walks. I cut in. You started eating separately. You buried your head in work, and when I asked if we were okay, you said I was overthinking. She swallowed hard. You remember that model train kit we bought at that antique store in Raleigh? The one we said we'd build together? She nodded. I built it alone. You were on your laptop in the kitchen the whole time. You didn't even look up when I showed you the finished layout. Her voice broke. I was stressed. You were gone, Michelle. Long before Ethan. Long before whatever fantasy he sold you about reconnection. She flinched. I protected myself the only way I could, by pulling back. And I hated it. I hated that we stopped being us. But I wasn't the first one to leave. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean to. You did, though. Maybe not with malice. But you left me alone in a marriage we were both supposed to be in. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. I thought, if I could just feel something again, maybe we'd get back to who we were. Then why didn't you come to me? I asked quietly. Why didn't you try with me? Silence. She looked down into the box, as if hoping something inside it would answer for her. But there was nothing left in it now but paper and proof. Proof that we were real once. And that somewhere along the way, she decided that wasn't enough. We didn't talk much after that. Michelle stayed curled on the couch, knees hugged to her chest like a kid waiting for a punishment that wouldn't come. I poured another glass of wine, more out of ritual than anything, and sat across from her, watching the shadows on her face. When she finally spoke, her voice was low, trembling. Was it really that bad between us? I didn't answer right away. I took a slow sip and then nodded. Yeah, it was. She looked at me like she didn't want to believe it. Like I was rewriting history in front of her. You never said anything, she whispered. You never wanted to hear it, I replied. The silence between us grew thick again, until she asked the question that had been hanging in the air for weeks. Was the sex really that bad? I tilted my head. You mean before, or after we stopped pretending? Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. It felt like a transaction, I said. Like you were checking a box on a list. She winced. You'd lie there and wait for it to be over. Sometimes you barely touch me. Sometimes I'd try to kiss you, and you'd flinch like I startled you. Michelle shook her head, tears welling up again. I thought you weren't interested. You stopped initiating. I stared at her. Calm. Cold. I stopped because I couldn't keep pretending it meant anything to you. Her breath hitched. I didn't stop wanting you, Michelle. I stopped wanting to be rejected by you. Her hands were clenched in her lap now, trembling. There were nights, I said, when I'd lie there next to you and think, what's the point? She's already somewhere else in her head. A long beat. Did you fake it? She asked quietly. Like, really fake it? I didn't blink. I faked everything. Climax, enthusiasm, connection. I'd turn off the lights just so I wouldn't have to see how empty your face looked. She covered her mouth with her hand like I'd slapped her. That's not fair, she whispered. No, I said, pouring the last of the bottle. It's honest. She didn't speak again. She just stared at the rug, eyes glassy, lips pressed in a tight line like she was trying to keep from shattering right there on the couch. I leaned back in my chair and sipped the wine. It was dry, a little bitter, like the truth. It was almost midnight when Michelle finally broke the silence. She sat on the edge of the couch, knees pulled to her chest, her voice shaky. I just don't understand. Why are you being so cruel? I looked at her, steady. Cruel would be letting you keep lying to yourself. Her eyes flashed, something between fear and anger. You make it sound like I've already done something unforgivable. I stood up, slow and deliberate. You didn't need to sleep with him to cheat, Michelle. She stiffened. You did that the second you started making plans. Her jaw clenched. So what? I'm not allowed to talk to people? Have friends? I walked to the dining table and pulled out the folder. The one Warren Cole gave me. I dropped it in front of her. Hard. Michelle stared at it like it was a bomb about to go off. What is that? Photos, I said. Phone records. Email logs. Your hotel reservation with Ethan. Copies of your messages. She didn't move. Her fingers twitched in her lap. I know about the wellness retreat, I said. I know Ethan's wife is going out of town this weekend. I know you were planning to ask for my blessing. I know about your little fantasy speech. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. I also know you call him your travel husband, that you've had dinner with him alone 17 times in the last 3 months, and that you sent him a photo of yourself in lingerie on the last trip to Miami. She finally whispered, You hired someone? I nodded once. I needed the truth. You wouldn't give it to me. Michelle reached for the folder, but I stopped her hand midair. No more lies, Michelle. You don't get to spin this. I didn't do anything, she said, eyes pleading. It wasn't physical. It was everything but. I leaned down until we were eye level. And the worst part? You were going to look me in the eye and ask me to approve it. Like I was supposed to cheer you on. Her face fell. I pushed the folder toward her. You were going to do it this Friday night, weren't you? She nodded, barely. Yes. I walked to the cabinet and pulled out another manila envelope. This one was thinner, but it mattered more. This is from my lawyer, I said. You'll be served Friday. She froze. Same day you booked the hotel with Ethan. I figured we'd both make use of the evening. Her hand flew to her mouth. You won't need to check in now. The room's canceled. So is the marriage. Michelle looked like she couldn't breathe. She opened the folder, saw her own messages printed out, timestamped, documented. She tried one last time. Ray, wait. I held up a hand. No more speeches. Then I walked away, leaving her in a living room full of proof, silence, and her own reflection. Michelle followed me into the kitchen like her legs moved on their own. Ray, she said, her voice cracking. Please, just listen. I messed up. I know. But nothing actually happened. I pulled 2 glasses from the cabinet and poured water this time. I didn't offer her one. She stepped closer. I'll quit the firm. I'll never speak to Ethan again. I'll delete everything. Block him. Whatever it takes. I took a slow sip. You already made your choice. Her voice trembled. I didn't sleep with him, Ray. I stopped it. I couldn't go through with it. You didn't stop it, I said calmly. You just didn't get far enough yet. She flinched like I'd struck her. I didn't cross the line, she whispered. I met her eyes. You crossed it when you started planning to. Her hands shook. You don't understand. I thought if we could be honest, if I was honest, it would bring us back. That maybe it would spark something again. I laughed once quietly. You thought cheating would fix our marriage? Her lip quivered. Not cheating. I mean, he said that some people, when they give each other space, intimacy with others, it opens things up. I set my glass down hard. No. You wanted permission to destroy something without feeling guilty about it. You wanted me to bless it so that when it all fell apart, you could say, "Well," Ray agreed. She folded, her voice barely a breath. "I still love you." I shook my head slowly. "Then why didn't you live faithfully for me?" Tears spilled down her face now. She reached for me, fingers grazing my wrist. "I'll do anything to fix this. I swear to God, I'll fight for us." I pulled away. "I already fought," I said. "I fought for this marriage every day you were pulling away. While you were texting Ethan under conference tables. While you were canceling our date nights. I fought while you stopped seeing me." She dropped to the floor like her knees had given out, sobbing at the base of the counter. "I can't believe I let it get this far," she cried. "I thought I could control it. I thought it was harmless." I grabbed my coat off the hook and walked past her. "Oh, and Michelle?" I paused at the doorway. She looked up, makeup running, breath hitching. "I'm not the only one who's done fighting." She blinked. "What do you mean?" I opened the door halfway and turned to her. "Ethan's wife hired the same divorce lawyer I did. And then I left." Her cries echoed behind me, soft, jagged, unraveling. But I didn't look back. I'd already seen enough. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a gray, windowless room across from Michelle and a licensed marriage therapist named Dr. Vargas. The walls were bare except for a painting of a forest trail and a single clock that ticked so slowly it felt like it judged you. We were here because the judge suggested it. Not ordered exactly, but strongly recommended as a potential path toward closure. I hadn't decided what I wanted. Not fully, but I showed up. Maybe to watch Michelle squirm. Maybe to say things I hadn't had the nerve to scream. Maybe to make sure she understood, in no uncertain terms, what she broke. Michelle sat rigid beside me. Her face was thinner, makeup gone, nails unpainted. She looked like someone halfway between mourning and penance. Dr. Vargas smiled politely. "Let's start with what brought you both here." Michelle spoke first. "I betrayed him," she said, eyes low. "Not physically, but emotionally. And I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to understand how I got so far from him." I stared at her. It was the first thing she'd said in weeks that didn't sound rehearsed. I told the story plainly. About the phone records, the flirty messages, Ethan, the planned hotel night. Michelle didn't deny a word of it. When Dr. Vargas asked how long I'd felt the distance growing, I surprised myself by saying, 2 years, maybe longer. Then I added, but I only realized how lonely I was when I imagined her sleeping beside someone else, and didn't feel jealous. Just numb. Michelle wiped her eyes with a tissue. Over the next few weeks, we kept coming. I didn't plan to. I figured I'd go twice, get confirmation that divorce was the right move, and walk out with peace. But something kept pulling me back. Michelle started to say things she'd never said before. That she'd felt like she was failing at being a wife. That when I stopped initiating affection, she assumed I no longer desired her. That Ethan made her feel visible. "I didn't want him," she said once quietly. "I wanted to feel wanted." It wasn't a justification. Just a truth I couldn't ignore. I admitted things too. How I buried myself in work, not just from exhaustion, but from self-preservation. How I stopped reaching out because I feared rejection more than solitude. How I'd started thinking of our marriage as something frozen in time, rather than something worth thawing. Something shifted between us. Not instantly, but steadily. After the 6th session, Michelle asked if we could get coffee before heading home. We sat in a quiet cafe, talking like people who once loved each other and maybe weren't done. A week later, she came by my new apartment with a tray of lemon bars. Homemade, like she used to make before life got heavy. By the 3rd month of therapy, Michelle had resigned from her firm. Not as an apology, but as a decision to start over on her own terms. I offered her a junior project role in my office. She accepted without hesitation. Working together didn't feel like walking on glass. It felt familiar, comforting. One evening, almost a year after the night I served her papers, we were curled up on my couch, watching a documentary, just like old times. She reached for my hand without thinking, and I didn't pull away. Halfway through, she turned to me, resting her head on my shoulder. "I have something to tell you," she whispered. I looked down at her, heart thudding. "You're going to be a dad." I didn't speak right away. I just held her a little tighter. Because in that moment, I wasn't thinking about the betrayal or the therapy or the fallout. I was thinking about second chances, and how sometimes they come softly when you've stopped expecting them but started earning them.